Welcome friends. In this video we'll focus on actively stretching our quads and hamstrings, which are the big muscle groups that help control movement in our leg, bending the knee, flexing at the hip joint. So these muscles work in pairs, meaning that when the quads contract, the hamstrings lengthen a little bit. The quads are responsible for helping us to flex at the hip joint and to straighten our knee, and the hamstrings help us to extend at the hip joint, so extend our leg behind us and bend or flex the knee. So when these muscles are in balance, our knees are going to be a lot more stable and we'll be a lot less prone to injury. So let's start on our hands and knees in tabletop and start to move the spine. So the spine is so important it affects our whole body. When our spine is flexible, we can move more easily and find balance more easily. So first just start shifting your ribs from side to side, and then begin to cat-cow. Feeling the spine move, feeling all the vertebrae lengthen and move like independently and interdependently of each other. Tuck your toes, lift your hips and stretch back to your down dog. You can start to bend one knee at a time, pressing down through the opposite heel, opening up the calf. Then step your left leg behind your right leg, bend your right knee and reach out through your left heel. This is a really nice calf stretch, and the calf muscles feed into the hamstrings. They all work synergistically together. And then we'll bring the right foot across behind the left, stretching out through the right heel, bending the left knee. Take your time so you can really notice how you feel. Then lightly step your feet forward to your hands, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, bow. Bend your knees as much as you need. Inhale, lift up and stretch out the spine. Exhale, bow over your legs. Inhale, straighten halfway up. Exhale, bow. Bend your knees and come into a squat, lower onto your hips and onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest and gently rock around on your hips, giving yourself a little massage. And then with your left foot on the floor, knee bent up in the air, interlace your fingers on the back of your left thigh. Press your thigh into your hands to activate the muscles, and then bring your foot forward to straighten the leg. The closer your thigh is to your chest, the deeper your hamstring stretch will be. So you can either bring your knee further away from the chest for a less intense hamstring stretch, or closer. So it's up to you to decide and to listen every day, because every day might be different. So find a place where you feel a good stretch, but it's not too intense. And then lower your heel towards your hip and bring your foot forward. So we're flexing and extending at the knee joint to open up the hamstrings. Stretch both legs out. Let your whole back rest and notice the difference between the two sides. And bend your right knee, bring your left leg up. Interlace the fingers on the back of your left leg and begin that same bending and straightening of the left leg. So you bend at the knee joint, using the hamstrings, and then straighten the leg using the quads. It's all very subtle. We're so used to the pairs of muscles working together and all the synergistic muscles supporting the movement. But what I'd like you mostly to feel right now is the hamstrings of the left leg stretching. Nice and gently, and with an active stretch, so your muscles are engaged to a certain degree. Then stretch your legs out straight, relax your back. And then we'll come back to that right leg, interlacing the fingers behind your thigh. Stretch your foot forward and straighten your left leg on the floor. Try and press down through the back of your left thigh as you gently pull your right leg toward your chest. Now you can hold either your foot or your ankle or your thigh with your right hand and start to gently open your right leg out to the side, keeping that left hip down. Try not to let the left hip lift. So don't have your motivation be to get your foot to the floor. It's more to feel the inner thigh opening up, stretching up, feel the hamstrings. Now we're going to bring our leg across. So take your left hand to the outside of your calf, your knee, or your thigh, and start to bring your leg across as you actively press your right leg up into your left hand. So even though we're lowering the leg, we're also resisting lowering so that we can move with control and slowly, slowly, slowly lower that right foot all the way to the floor, or maybe a block or a pillow, something to give you a little height if your leg won't go all the way to the floor. So you feel a big stretch in your glutes and the piriformis, and all the way down from your hips out to your heel. And just relax here for a couple breaths, letting your body slowly let go of tension. So here's what we don't want to force anything. If we force, our body's going to resist. But if we let go, the body will start to surrender eventually. So be patient with these stretches. Then to come back up, you push your foot into your hand again and start to bring your leg up. Lower your leg down. Notice the difference between your two legs. Now we'll do the same thing on the left side. So bring the left leg up. Interlace your fingers on the back of your thigh. And then take your hand to your foot, your ankle, your calf, or your thigh. We'll start to open the left leg out to the left, keeping that right hip down and grounded. Again, take your time. This leg might not go as far as the other leg, or it might go further. Usually our sides aren't balanced. Try not to let your hip lift up and roll to the side. By anchoring the right hip, you'll get a much deeper stretch in your left adductors, your left hamstring. Bring your leg back up, take your right hand across to the outside edge of your left leg, foot, calf, thigh. And as you start to reach your leg across, start pushing your leg into your hand so you can move across slowly, keeping the muscles engaged so that we have an active stretch. And then once you're in your full twist with your foot on the ground or supported, you can start to relax a little bit more. And feel the stretch opening up all throughout your whole leg, into your hips, even up into your left side. It's possible. We all might feel something a little bit different. But it's up to you to observe and to notice and to modify. And to feel the differences after you've done some practices like this of how you move, how your legs feel, how your whole body feels. Bring your leg back up, lower your leg down. Just relax for a few breaths. And then hug your right knee into your chest and release your fingers on the front of your right shin. Pull your knee into your chest. And hold the back of your thigh again with your hands, keeping the knee in as tight as you can. Bring your foot up so your sole of your foot is parallel to the ceiling, coming into happy baby. Gently try and descend your right knee towards the earth, keeping the left hip down. And release your knee. Hug the left knee into your chest. We'll do the same thing on the left side, so bring your left foot up toward the sky. If you can, grab your foot, if not, your ankle, or keep holding the back of your thigh. And bring your left knee a little closer to the earth. Release your foot, straighten your legs, and again, observe how you're feeling. Bend the knees, hold the back of your thighs. Bring your feet forward, coming into your full happy baby. Now you can always keep holding the back of your thighs, or you could hold your ankles or maybe even your feet. The goal is to keep your shoulders down and your hips down and to gently rock from side to side. Letting those hip joints open up so we gain more flexibility and freedom. Hug your knees into your chest and start to rock back and forth, holding the back of your thighs, rounding your back, tucking your chin in. And then we're going to rock all the way up onto our hands and knees and take your blocks so you have them handy on either side of your mat. And stretch out the back of your right foot behind you, pressing into your big toe mound, stretching up to your heel. Again, to engage your hamstrings, and then step your foot all the way forward into a lunge. That knee, left knee stays on the ground. You can use your blocks here and start to posteriorly tilt your tailbone as you let your left thigh descend closer to the floor, stretching forward through your right knee. So this can be a pretty intense quad stretch and hip flexor stretch. Then straighten your right leg by pulling your right hip back and bowing over your right leg. Try not to let your back round too much. Instead, think of elongating from your tailbone through the crown of your head. So if your hamstrings are tight, you won't be as close to your leg as I look in the video, and that's okay. We're really just going for the sensation of the stretch. And lift your chest up, reach your arms up, and reach your heart toward the sky, keeping a little bit of a posterior tilt. And lower your hands back down and step back, downward facing dog. Notice the difference between your two legs. Bring your knees back down, step your left foot forward. You can place your hands on your left knee, or you can use the blocks. Again, try and keep a little bit posterior tilt, feeling a big opening on the right quads, the right hip flexor. And then stretch your left hip back to straighten your left leg and reach forward over your leg. So it's really important here to notice where the stretch is in your hamstring. If it's right up at the attachment of the hamstring by your glutes, you want to do more posterior tilt or bend your knee. Try not to stretch as hard. We don't want to overstretch the hamstrings. And step back to your down dog. Wave forward into plank. Lower partway down, you can always lower your knees down. Point your toes, curl up into your cobra. Working the legs as much as you're working the back, so there's no pinching or compression of your back. And come onto your forearms, and I consider this one of the easiest ways to stretch your quads is to bend your left knee, reach back with your left hand for your foot. You can always use a strap here if you can't reach your foot. And then we're going to alternate between pressing our heel in towards our hip and letting the leg relax a little bit so the heel extends away from the hip. There's just a gentle pressing to our edge and then releasing out of that extreme stretch. Release your foot. Same thing on the other side. So bend the right knee, press the right heel in towards your hip, and let it release back a little bit out of the stretch. And then go forward. If you want a deeper stretch, you can straighten that left arm. And if you're hypermobile or this is very easy for you, then maybe you don't go to your edge. Maybe you stop a little bit before that. Lift your hips, press back to downward facing dog. Pedal out the knees. Look towards your hands. Inhale, reach the right leg up. Exhale, knee to chest. Step your foot all the way forward between your hands. Straighten the front leg by pulling the right hip back. Now you can have the left knee on the floor, the left knee lifted. we're just going to stretch back and forth between straightening the front leg, getting into the hamstrings, and bending the front knee, getting into the quads of the back leg. You can lift your toes up off the floor. Just glide back and forth, letting the breath lead the way, letting the breath guide you. And lower your knee to the floor. Reach back with your left hand for your left foot, and gently pull your heel in towards your hips. At the same time, be pressing your foot into your hand a little bit for some resistance. Release your foot and step back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Inhale the left leg up. Exhale, bring your knee forward. Place your foot down. You can keep that right knee lifted or lower it down. Bend the right knee, reach back for the right foot with your right hand. And gently pull your heel in towards your hip. It might not reach, it might not touch. That's fine. You want to be somewhat gentle with yourself and step back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, step it forward. Bend the left knee, reach back across with your right hand for your left foot. Now we're going to get a quad stretch, a back bend, and a twist. So it's important to keep that left shoulder back. Don't let it round forward, keep it back. And release your foot. Stretch your hips back to straighten your leg and step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the left leg up. Exhale, step it all the way forward between your hands. Lower your right knee down. Lift your right foot off the ground. Reach back with your left hand for your right foot. You can use a block under your right hand if you like. Hold your foot. And again, we're going to twist, back bend, and quad stretch. Keep the right shoulder back. Gently press your heel in towards your hip and release. Keep the abdominals engaged and lifted to protect your back. And then stretch your left leg straight. And step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the left leg up and stretch your foot all the way forward so it's even with your hip. Place your foot on the floor and gently press your hips back. Glide your hips from side to side. And then inhale, lift your leg all the way up and back and down to downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Open up the hip, bring your leg forward and down to the floor. We're going to stretch those inner hamstring muscles, inner thigh muscles. And then bring your leg back up and back down, downward facing dog. Come up onto your tiptoes, bend your knees, and lightly hop forward to your hands or walk forward, either way. Inhale, lift up halfway, exhale, bow. Come into a squat. Lower onto your backs. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice massage. And place your feet on the ground. Open your arms out to the side. And with your feet as wide as the mat, so your feet are not together, they're wide apart, begin to windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Moving nice and slowly back and forth, stretching that top knee a little bit more forward to get into the quads. Pull your top hip back as you stretch the top knee forward. When you're twisted to the right, if you want, you can try reaching your hand to grab your left heel, very similar to what we did when we were kneeling. And if you can point your toes towards your shoulders and pull your heel in towards your hip, this could also be a nice quad stretch for you. It's not necessary to do this. This is like a little extra if you're a little more flexible. And you can push your hand into your heel to drive that left knee forward a little bit more. Keep pulling back with your ab muscles. And then we'll twist to the left and try the same thing here. So you might want to grab your right foot with your right hand, pulling your heel in towards your hip, or you might not want to. You might have just the right amount of stretch right here. It might be too much for you today. So listen to your body. Pay attention to the messages it's giving you, and respect your body. Be patient. Release your foot, bring your feet back up. And just a few more gentle twists from side to side. And rock up to seated. Grab your blocks. And we're going to do a little restorative bridge pose. So place the blocks underneath your sacrum, just below your waist. And stretch one leg out at a time. If you need to adjust your hips, you can posteriorly tilt your hips so your tailbone reaches towards your heels. That will lengthen your back out a little bit and then straighten the legs. If this is too uncomfortable on your back, just do one knee at a time, or just do a partial straightening of your legs. And let yourself relax here. Relax into this gentle hip opening stretch. Notice if your whole body is feeling more receptive and open. Bend your knees and bring your feet up in the air to hover over your hips. So you can always adjust a little bit if you need to. So it should be nice and comfortable, very relaxed. If your hamstrings are tight, you can bend your knees. The idea is that your feet are more or less over your hips, so you're not trying to strain your muscles to hold them up there. And then you can begin to point and flex your toes, circle your ankles, spread your legs apart. And then stretch the left leg out, hug your right knee into your chest. And alternate bending your knee and straightening your leg. And same thing other side. So you can be creative here, just play around with your hips on the block, the hips elevated. We'll make everything a little more stretchy. And bring your feet back up. Maybe open your legs out to the side if that feels good. With your hands on your inner legs, you can press your legs into your hands. And lower your feet to the floor, lift the hips, move the blocks off to the side. Lower your hips back down. Rock around on your hips. And stretch your legs out for Savasana. Let your whole back relax. Shoulders relax. Ribs drawing inward. And notice how your whole body feels from focusing on the quads and the hamstrings. It allows the whole body to relax. You can stay here as long as you like. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for joining me for this quad and hamstring practice. Namaste.